I don't typically follow pop culture. I normally would give two about Nicki Minaj and never thought I would ever talk about her on this channel. I mean, this is certainly not a rabbit hole that I expected to go down today, or ever. But then, all of a sudden, she tweeted about a pair of swollen balls, and it spiraled down into a rabbit hole of speaking out against vaccine mandates and comparisons to communist China until social media suspended her, and the government of Trinidad and the White House itself intervened to try to get her to fall back in line. The media circus took it and accused her of being a white supremacist spreading fake news, all while filling the airwaves with parody songs about a black man's swollen testicles, poking fun at STDs and testicular cancer, and creating what is now collectively known as the BallGate crisis. Because this is America. Needless to say, this story is a bit of a wild ride and proves that not even the pop culture elite are safe, if you can really call Nicki Minaj elite. But first, I want to give a quick shout out to Blackout Coffee Company, your friendly, Florida-based small batch coffee company that always supports the rights of free speech and self-defense for everyone from Nicki Minaj to little channels like this one. To try out their amazing roasts, flavors, and loose leaf teas, use my link on screen or down in the description. This whole thing started innocently enough on September 13th with a series of 3 tweets about a friend catching COVID and the Met Gala. But by the end of the day, or rather the end of 2 days, I suppose, Minaj was calling out the hypocrisy of Hollywood and pop culture, talking about the loss of free speech, calling Joe Biden a liar, and even retweeting Tucker Carlson, handing out baby aspirins of red pills to her combined 180 million followers, to the point that now Nicki Minaj fans are protesting outside the CDC headquarters in Atlanta, denouncing Dr. Fauci.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Very, very baby doses of red pills, mind you, but if everyone from the White House to Jimmy Kimmel are jumping on her, you know she's doing something right. Here are the tweets that started this whole bizarre tale. First, in response to a fan speculating about canceling her MTV Music Awards appearance last minute due to COVID concerns. I was prepping for VMAs, then I shot a video and guess who got COVID? Do you know what it is not to be able to kiss or hold your tiny baby for over a week? A baby who is only used to his mama? Get vaccinated. Drake had just told me he got COVID with the vaccine. They want you to get vaccinated for the Met. If I get vaccinated, it won't be for the Met. It'll be once I feel I've done enough research. I'm working on that now. In the meantime, my loves, be safe. Wear the mask with 2 strings that grips your head and face, not the loose one. And finally, the one that got the most media attention, even though it's not really what this story is about. My cousin in Trinidad won't get the vaccine because his friend got it and became impotent. His testicles became swollen. His friend was weeks away from getting married, now the girl called off the wedding. So just pray on it and make sure you're comfortable with your decision, not bullied. Responses from blue checks on social media ranged from, if you got vaccinated, you'd be able to hold your baby right now, to normalize bullying people into getting vaccinated, and various accusations of her now being a murderer because people would read her tweet, decide to skip the vaccine, and die.
But don't you think that's a little extreme?
The issue here isn't Nicki's cousin's friend's genitals, it's that she told people to do what was right for them, their families, and their health, and make their own choices rather than be bullied. But pointing this out would be too dangerous, so instead, this is what we got for headlines. Nicki Minaj's BallGate drama is getting, nuts. Sorry, Nicki, no one in Trinidad suffered swollen testicles from the vaccine. What you really need to know about your penis, COVID, and vaccines. It's very hard to have good sex when you're dead. Nicki Minaj is wrong about balls. Why is Nicki Minaj doing this?
Why, God, why?
Nicki Minaj was wrong on vaccines, and conspiracy theorists ate it up. What Nicki Minaj is doing isn't funny. It's dangerous. The first line of which, by the way, claims that she's going to get someone killed. Nicki Minaj won't get vaccinated, says that she's worried about swollen testicles. Late night TV was filled with ball jokes, spoofs of her songs with new lyrics about genitals and the hilarity of STDs, testicular cancer, and vaccine side effects, and pleas with her to come back to the blue side before someone got hurt. Now, mind you, a full 6 minutes after the ball tweet, she responded to someone who said they chose to get vaccinated because their country required it in order to work. Minaj responded in favor of getting vaccinated if it meant providing for your family, and said she was likely to get vaccinated herself because it will likely be necessary to go on tour. And yet, just over an hour later, people like Joy Reid were on the news, accusing her of using her platform to encourage people to die.
For you to use your platform to encourage our community to not protect themselves and save their lives, for you to use your platform to put people in the position of dying from a disease they don't have to die from, oh my God.
But, let's not exaggerate or get hyperbolic here. Around the same time, other media outlets started spreading the claim that she wasn't attending the Hunger Games gala, Met Gala, because of their vaccine requirement. While she did speak out against getting the vaccine just to go to a dystopian party that costs $30,000 a seat, she clearly stated in previous tweets that 1, she didn't want to travel due to having a small child, and 2, she was recovering from COVID. So then the powers that be were so worried about Nicki Minaj telling her 180 million followers that vaccines, like every medication ever, all the way down to Tylenol, have side effects, and were so concerned that she was telling people to make their own personal health decisions that they brought in all of these doctors to dispute her claims until finally the government of Trinidad and Tobago itself and Dr. Fauci himself stepped in to do damage control. Less than 24 hours after these tweets, Fauci was on CNN telling Jake Tapper with a straight face that not only has no one ever experienced swollen balls after getting the COVID vaccine, but that there have not been any reports of anyone experiencing any reproductive side effects.
I wouldn't normally even ask you about this, but Nicki Minaj has nearly 180 million followers. Dr. Fauci, is there any evidence that the Pfizer, the Moderna, or the J&J vaccines cause any reproductive issues in men or women?
The answer to that, Jake, is a resounding no. There's no evidence that it happens, nor is there any mechanistic reason to imagine that it would happen. So the answer to your question is no.
Which, coincidentally enough, is not what VAERS says. According to VAERS, reports on the COVID vaccines specifically through September 3rd logged nearly 1,800 miscarriages, over 9,700 menstrual disorders, 3,300 cases of vaginal or uterine hemorrhaging, 171 cases of erectile dysfunction, and, oddly enough, exactly 766 cases of testicular pain and swelling. Meanwhile, the government of Trinidad responded to Minaj directly and also claimed there's no evidence of the vaccine causing that particular reproductive issue at hand anywhere on the island, and in a televised statement called the venture a complete waste of time. Again, a government official went on national television to discuss Nicki Minaj's cousin's friend's balls. Minaj went back to Twitter and made tweets about the government downplaying the side effects of the vaccine and pointed out that Joy Reid, like many leftists during Trump's presidency, had previously claimed neither she nor anyone else should ever trust the FDA or CDC ever again because they'd accepted the Trump vaccine. Also, she started feuding with Piers Morgan, spoke about how it was right for people to ask questions about the vaccine, and retweeted a Tucker Carlson clip stating that the government and media make a living by bullying people. Which is not wrong. This last action is what made people start to call Minaj a white nationalist, a domestic terrorist, and a closet racist. Minaj fired back with several responses, including, "Right, I can't speak to, agree with, even look at someone from a particular political party. People aren't human anymore. If you're black and a Democrat tells you to shove marbles up your you simply have to. If another party tells you to look out for that bus, stand there and get hit. The black woman lied on me and made people attack me, but I can't quote this man who did the opposite. Okay, f*** him. Yeah, woohoo. Happy now? Brain dead." You know how many US presidents were white supremacists? Oh please, just stay on topic. Y'all can't do that. The topic is, asking questions is okay, but let's make the topic, Nicki talks to white racists so that you can all sleep better tonight. Dummies. Which is directly from the woke social justice playbook. The top response, from a blue-check white guy, of course, demonstrated a perfect example of the bigotry of low expectations, with claims that Minaj just doesn't understand how hard the Democrats have worked for minorities. Others accused her of selling her soul to the white devil. Even folks in the UK got involved, for some reason, with Prime Minister Boris Johnson and Chief Medical Officer Chris Whitty saying that Nicki Minaj should be ashamed of herself and called her claim a myth. Then, the White House got involved.
Is that really necessary, sir?
On September 15th, she tweeted that the White House had sent her an invitation to go and talk with government officials about her vaccine hesitancy. The next day, the Biden administration pushed back and claimed Minaj was lying and that they only offered her a phone call to speak with Dr. Fauci and the Surgeon General. Jen Psaki told reporters it was a very early stage call and part of their standard procedure to stop celebrities from spreading misinformation. She also stated that they would not be inviting her to the White House because the Biden administration, quote, isn't the right platform or the right voice for Minaj, whatever that means. This is where she was allegedly locked out of Twitter for misinformation. She posted to TikTok about the temporary ban, which Twitter denied. Minaj did an Instagram Live where she said her Twitter ban, the media lies against her, and all the folks coming out of the woodwork to silence her were proof that freedom of choice and freedom of speech no longer exist in America. She then spoke out about cancel culture and compared both cancel culture and the current state of free speech to communist China, which is a big, big no-no if you're a celebrity, even if the comparison is both valid and accurate.
And what's happening now is I realize, slowly but surely, we are now living in those places that we used to talk about 50 years ago and 30 years ago and 20 years ago. We have become that place that you can't speak. You can't speak for the fear of the mob attacking you. If that doesn't give you chills up and down your spine, this is scary. I remember going to China and they were telling us, you cannot speak out against you know, the people in power there, etc. And I remember all of us thinking, oh, okay, well, you know, we understand and we respect the laws here and you know, that it's so different where we live. But don't y'all see what's happening? Don't y'all see that we are living now in that time?
She then made a separate video slamming the Biden administration for lying and saying that they had even offered to hold a conversation with her about vaccines on a live video. She said that the White House then called her after her tweet revealing the invitation and chastised her for revealing that information. Then she pointed out that the Democrat Party realized they could no longer just run on ball jokes anymore and were now attacking her and her credibility personally to keep people afraid to ask questions. She continued to say that the left was full of hate and was purposefully trying to turn anyone who asked questions into a joke and was working to make her and others asking questions look stupid. Despite Twitter's statements that they did not lock Minaj out of her account due to it not being misinformation, which is laughable and not at all the same standard that non-celebrities face, she did not make any posts from Wednesday until Friday afternoon. At this point, she responded to someone and said they were silencing people so vaccination numbers could go up so folks could go back to the movies. Then she tweeted asking what Pfizer's stock is worth right now. When I clicked the tweet to make it bigger for a screenshot, I got the message, "This page does not exist." When I reloaded the page, everything after September 15th was again mysteriously gone. And now the grand finale of this whole thing so far. Ever since her tweets, Nicki Minaj fans have been outside the CDC headquarters in Atlanta protesting vaccine mandates. According to local news, protesters chanted that Minaj was telling the truth and that Dr. Fauci lied to them. One protester told reporters that everyone should be questioning the vaccine. Other chants included, "Down with the CDC, Dr. Fauci lied to me." Blue checks on Twitter, media personalities, and government officials alike are all also suddenly telling folks that they shouldn't be getting their information from celebrities, despite puppeteering celebrities for years now for political and cultural gain. The Daily Beast in particular has gone from gushing over Minaj to calling her a loser who couldn't pass a 7th grade science test. And so that, Liberty Fam, is how testicles, Nicki Minaj, and Communist China all converge to somehow create a story relevant to liberty. Because she's right. No matter how silly the ball anecdote might seem, it's not only okay, but it's right to ask questions. You should be able to make your own individual choices. It's right to be critical of your government and your media. This story is proof of it. In a day and age when celebrities are paraded around for political causes, Minaj asked the wrong questions and spoke the wrong narrative, sparking this huge effort to silence her and make her look as stupid as possible. 180 million people got to see this in real time, how the left and legacy media work together to toe the party line. And she's right. It is scary, and it does set a dangerous precedent. That's it for today's video, and certainly one I never thought I'd make. As always, please consider supporting the channel either through the partner and support links in the description or even just with a like and a comment. Thanks for tuning in, getting this deep into BallGate, and I'll see you on the next one.